This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
Okay, it's time to play Make Pretend. That's what we're going to do for the next year and a half. Let's play Make Pretend. Joe Biden's 80 years old. He's an old 80, as you can tell by the way he walks and moves and talks and forgets and stumbles and bumbles and makes things up. He's got about a dozen symptoms of dementia. Clear as day. He cannot walk anymore without falling on his face. And we all have to pretend he's just it happens. It happens. People fall down. People forget things. He is running. We know he's president, or sort of. We know he's president. He's running for another 4 years. Okay, we can all just pretend that he's a legitimate candidate, that he will campaign, that he will debate, that he will he's hoping to be reelected and serve another 4 years. All right, now let's stop pretending. That isn't possible. He cannot do it. He physically, mentally cannot do it. It is not possible for Joe Biden to run for reelection, to win reelection, and serve 4 more years. The whole country, I'm not just the mainstream media, we're all just sitting here pretending that that's a realistic possibility. It is not. I'm going to say definitively right now that he will not be the nominee, that he will not be the president in a year and a half or in 19 months. That's not, my partisan hot take saying, he's a terrible president. He's a terrible human being. He's a terrible father, a terrible grandfather. He should not be president. He just physically can't do it. And at some point, we're all going to have to get on board with this. We're all going to have to agree. A CNN commentator let this slip during a discussion about the great fall at the Air Force Academy. He said, let me get his name because this is kind of funny. I believe he's a doctor. His name is Reiner, Dr. Reiner. Jonathan Reiner said that Joe Biden needs a cane or a walker. This is on CNN. I'm sure that someone got in trouble for letting this actually air. It must have been live or they would have cut it. But if Joe Biden weren't president, he would already have a cane or a walker or a wheelchair. That's what happens when you're 80 and you have dementia and you have arthritis in your spine. I don't know a lot about a lot, but I know a lot about this. What he's going through right now is tragic. It's sad. It's brutal for the family. His family is not like other families, though. His family does not care about him. His family, including his wretched wife, the worst elder abuser in the world, want him to continue to attempt to be president of the United States. They will shove him out on stage where he repeatedly, consistently embarrasses himself. The whole world is watching this, not just this country, the whole world. Can you imagine sitting with Putin or Xi or Kim Jong-un and seeing him, after delivering an incoherent speech to the graduates of Air Force Academy, fall, stumble, and not be able to get up? By the way, he could not get up on his own. He needed help. This is what happens to 80-year-olds. And here's the biggest problem as we watch this. And again, lots of people think you shouldn't laugh at this. It's hard not to, because we're not talking about some well-meaning, decent old guy. We're talking about the worst president we've ever had, who's done immeasurable damage to this country. I don't want him to be president. I certainly don't want him to get reelected, but I don't think I have to worry about that. If you're a Democrat, you have to worry. He can't do it. They're going to try to protect him. They're going to try to get through the campaign without debates, without even acknowledging that Robert Kennedy Jr. is a viable candidate. They're going to do what they did 4 years ago, hide him out 3 years ago, hide him out, leave him in the basement, leave him in the Oval Office, and let the media do the campaigning for him. It's not going to work. It can't work. It's the hardest job in the world. We all agree. You can't just go through the motions. You can't just put in 2 or 3 hour days and 4-day work weeks. It is stressful. It is pressure packed. You need someone with all his faculties. Hell, that's the number one reason for me to support Ron DeSantis. Now, Donald Trump is not senile. He does not appear to have dementia, but he's 76. He'll be 78 when his next term starts. He'll be 82 when his next term ends. I've been talking for the last 2.5 years about an 80-year-old president and how it's wrong. It is wrong. We should have age limit. We should have an age limit. You shouldn't be able to be president past 75, period. The job is too important. The country's too important. The idea that this man is so gifted and so talented and so competent that we'll make an exception and let him be president when he couldn't be a mailman. He couldn't be a teacher. He couldn't be an Amazon delivery guy. You wouldn't trust him to take a grocery list and go to the store and get all the things on the list. That is a fact. I mean, I'm not kidding. They make most federal employees retire. Hell, they make most private sector employees retire years and years before 80. And yet the hardest job, the most important job, we are trusting to a man who is unfit physically, unfit mentally, and now we're all supposed to pretend he's an actual candidate for re-election. That can't happen. It won't happen, and we'll soon have a free-for-all. Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, who knows who else. We'll have other people, as soon as they admit that Joe Biden is not physically or mentally capable, the whole field opens up, and it'll be just like the Republicans. There'll be 8, 9, 10 candidates. There'll be debates. There'll be campaigns. And we can all tell the truth. We can all admit the truth that this just can't happen. You can't and forget the fact that he's a terrible president. The next 4 years are going to be really important. There's stuff happening all over the world. There's a war in Ukraine, which he has escalated. And many of us feel it's inevitable that we're going to be further involved in this proxy war in Ukraine. And you want a president who's not only compromised, and we'll get to that, the latest on the bribes this man took when he was vice president, but you want to entrust all the troubles in the world to a man who can't walk, who can't talk, who can't read a teleprompter. Here's the problem. I've seen this too in some octogenarians. He's too prideful. He's too full of himself to ever use a cane. He won't use a cane. He won't use a walker. Even if his own doctors say you need to use a cane, falling when you're 80 is really dangerous. And here is the worst part. Here is the dirty little secret. The fall you saw, we know it's not the first. We've seen him stumble. We saw him fall off his bike. By the way, time to take the keys away to the bike. He shouldn't be riding a bike. So, I mean, think of this. If he were a regular private citizen, would his children and grandchildren allow him to drive? Of course not. Of course not. He shouldn't be driving. He shouldn't be biking. He certainly shouldn't be running. Here he is on the screen. This is the funny part. He wants to show you that he has pep in his step. There's a commercial, by the way. See if you can find this, Ironhead. Greg Kelly played this last night on Newsmax. His theme of his campaign, one of the themes, was that he is always on the go. He's always running places, and you better just try to keep up. It's hard to keep up with Joe Biden. Obviously, the message was he's still virile, but it's not exactly what's happening here. He's fake running, trying to show that he's got energy and pep in his step. And what does he do? Stumbles. They allege he trips over a sandbag. I don't think he tripped over anything. He tripped over his own feet. But again, here's the dirty secret here. It's going to happen again and again and again. That's what happens to 80-year-olds who fall. They continue to fall. They continue to fall and not be able to get up. This is what lots of families, millions of American families have gone through with parents and grandparents. Falling is a real problem when you're 80 for a couple reasons. One, it's a sign of other things. I sound like Trump now, of bad things. It's a sign of bad things. Dementia, Alzheimer's, there are issues here. And secondly, your body is frail, your bones are frail. This is how you break your hip. I lived through this. I lived through this with my parents, particularly my mother. I'm living through it with other family members right now. They fall, and when they fall, not only they have trouble getting up, they break things, they split the skin, they and sometimes suffer head injuries. This is serious. This is beyond serious. I understand people don't want you laughing about it. Donald Trump lectured Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity admitted on this town hall, which, by the way, was lifeless and boring. The town hall with Hannity, it was, again, Donald Trump just saying the same things over and over and over again. It was tedious. The town hall with Caitlin Collins, where she fought with him and interrupted him and fact-checked him, was much better. It was at least, a little tense. This one was just dull. But he tells the story of Sean Hannity making fun of Biden for being old and senile. And he used to say things like, I don't even understand this, but Hannity would say, give him his sippy cup and put him to bed and tuck him in and give him his ice cream. Trump says on this, or Hannity admits that Trump called him and told him not to do that. Don't make fun of Biden for his age. And I understand the reason he's doing that is because Trump can't play the age card. I mean, he can mention that Joe Biden is incoherent, but he can't say we can't have an 80-year-old president. He'll be 80 if he wins this election in his second year. We shouldn't have an 80-year-old president. I don't care how much you love Donald Trump. I like him. I enjoyed, I will support him if he's the nominee. I'll say it again. But I can't sit here for 2-3 years and say we can't have an 80-year-old president. The job is too hard. The job is too important. And then turn around and throw my support by a guy who will be 82 at the end of his term. Why is it so important to have this one man? We are a country of laws. We're not a country of men. There's another guy running. He's 44 years old. He has many of the same policies as Donald Trump. He's not in any danger of dementia seeping, falling, no danger of him falling down and tripping over nothing. We have to stop this. This is not good. This is not normal. You can't pretend Joe Biden is a viable candidate for office. He is not. It just isn't going to work. I don't know if you saw the actor James Van Beek, whatever his name is, from
James Vanderbeek.
And he's pissed because they're not going to have debates. They're not going to allow Joe Biden to take the debate stage and debate Robert Kennedy Jr. or anyone else. It's like we're all supposed to say, sure, you can protect this dementia patient and help usher him into office again to re-election. Why? Because you hate Trump? Because you want an open border? Because you want war in Ukraine? I don't care if you support his policies. Find another candidate with the same policies. This guy is not fit for office. This is such a charade. This is such a lie we're living through right now, that this guy can do the job. He can't. We have proof. Before he fell, he was talking gibberish, absolute gibberish. Was this the CNN doctor?
Yeah.
Let's watch and listen to, I just read this, I didn't even hear Jonathan Reiner admit on CNN that their guy, their candidate, should be using a cane. And by the way, he'll never do that. He's too vain. Joe Biden will not even be seen with reading glasses. He's 80 and he's too vain to use reading glasses. By the way, so is Trump. These are two guys. Trump's 76, Joe Biden's 80, and neither of them has ever been seen with reading glasses, which is just nuts. What's the problem? You're 80. It happens. We get old. We need glasses to read. And he won't wear them because he's so vain. We know he's had facelifts and Botox and fake hair and everything else. But this guy will never use a cane. And that's one of the big problems with people when they get to this age. They resist. They don't want to be seen with a walker. They don't want to be seen with a cane or in a wheelchair. And what happens? They try to walk, they try to run, and boom, they go down again, and something really awful happens. I think we're heading for that moment with Joe Biden, who will not use a walker or a cane, who will not stop pretending to run, who thinks he can do this. He can't. It's not his fault. It's biology. It's old age. So what we saw yesterday was bad. It's going to get worse. Let's listen to the apostate on CNN say their guy really should use a cane.
And for the people just listening, on the screen on CNN, they have Trump carefully walking down a wet ramp, trying to compare the two.
President Trump was very self-conscious about that incident, and he was quite concerned about falling. Look, I would suggest to the president that he really needs to be careful, and on unsteady ground, it wouldn't be the worst thing for the president to use a cane. I know he may not like the optics, but falling appears much worse.
Say goodbye to Dr. Reiner. He'll never be there again. Yeah, we get the numbers here. When Trump walked down a ramp slowly, and he talked about this with Hannity, it was a wet ramp, a wet day, and he walked slowly, had dress shoes on, walked slowly down a ramp. It was huge news. The Newsbusters has this. They spent, let me see, between CNN and MSNBC, they spent 50 minutes analyzing Trump walking slowly down a ramp. I think they spent, I'll get the number, I think they spent like 2 minutes on Joe Biden falling, face planting on his face. They brought, you have those headlines too. We get the news stories of them covering Trump walking down a ramp. It's just one story after another about his health, about concerns for his health. It wasn't a good look, but he didn't want to fall. It's kind of what you should do if it's slippery and you're old. Headlines of in the New York Times: Trump's halting walk raises new health questions. The president appeared to have trouble raising a glass to his mouth during his speech at West Point a day before he turned 74, the oldest president ever in his first term. That's the New York Times. Washington Post: Trump tries to explain his slow, unsteady walk down a ramp at West Point. CNN: why the Donald Trump West Point ramp story matters. Analysis by CNN's Chris Kaliza. So they analyzed his slow walk down a ramp. And by the way, they showed it yesterday about 100 times. And they glossed over Joe Biden face planting and not being able to get up again. By the way, when he was on the ground, they got that photo. Joe Biden has special rubber soles.
Yes, he does.
Like cleats on his dress shoes to avoid this very thing. I believe the time on the network spent on Biden is like 2 or 3 minutes, 50 minutes talking about Trump slowly shuffling down the ramp when he was 74. Here's their out on this. It's uncomfortable. It's elder abuse. It's just not, it's ageism. Here are his shoes. Look at those. They're like rubbers. And they blame it on the sandbag. I don't think the sandbag had anything to do with it. I just think he tries to run to show that he's got a little pep. He can't. He's unable to run. I don't care if he's the nominee. He's certainly the easiest one to beat, despite the fact that he'll have 100% of the media campaigning for him, or 95%. He's the easiest one to beat. He will be a disaster in the debates, particularly if he debates DeSantis. And it gives the Republicans the best chance. It's certainly easier to beat Joe Biden than it would be to beat Gavin Newsom. But I would say Kamala Harris would be just as easy to beat. So I don't care if he runs again. But what you're hearing now is one big lie, that he's somehow viable, that he somehow can do this. Either these are people who don't understand what happens after you turn 80, or they're just flat out lying to you because they hate Trump so much and they want to get Biden reelected. You're going to see misinformation in the next year and a half like you've never seen before. They must prop up their guy, and it gets harder every day. All right, let's get to before he fell. Before he fell. And let me give you the before, because this made me laugh out loud. This is a New York Times story, the actual story for the New York Times yesterday from Michael Shear. He's a political writer for the New York Times. This is after he fell. And we know the image, the video of him falling went global. Everybody saw it. It was uncomfortable. It was embarrassing for the nation. They write, here's the lead. Biden tripped and fell after delivering a speech and handing out diplomas to graduates of Air Force Academy Thursday. Mr. Biden, who is 80, was helped up and appeared to recover quickly. Biden's fall was captured on video and spread on social media. He appears to trip, fall to his knees, and catch himself. He was helped up by several Air Force officials and Secret Service agents and walked back to his seat. Mr. Biden had just delivered an energetic speech to Air Force grads before helping to hand out diplomas. He fell after he distributed the final diploma and headed to his seat. He's fine. Embarrassing moments are not uncommon for presidents who spend much of their tenure in front of cameras. President Gerald Ford was repeatedly roasted by comedians for frequently tripping. Donald Trump, a day before his 74th birthday, appeared slow and unsteady as he walked down a ramp. That's the... Gerald Ford is in the third paragraph. Trump's in the fourth paragraph after Joe Biden lands on his face in front of the world and delivered an energetic speech. And they go through the speech and they literally talk about it as if it wasn't as big a disaster as the fall. We have some receipts. This is unbelievable. This speech was as incoherent, as tired, as pathetic as any speech he's given recently. And the Air Force Academy grads are looking at him going, what is wrong with him? This is one of those moments where you say, this man isn't well.